All right. Well, hello, and welcome everyone to our BG5 Live. Great to have each and every one of you here today. So today, it's October 26th. Can you believe that we are at the end of October? October 26th, 2021. This is episode number 128. And we're also going to be taking a look at trait 28. We're going to take a look at trait 28, which is the game player in quality 2. So we're going to take a look at shaking hands with the devil. So that's what we're taking a look at today. All right, before we get started, let's introduce our panel. Let's start with Shelly. Hey, Shelly, welcome.
Hello, everybody. Great to be here today.
Great to have you, Shelly. Welcome, welcome. And let's go to Anna. Hello, Anna. Welcome.
Hello to everyone. Glad to be here.
Great to have you. And let's go to Linda. Hey, Linda, welcome.
Yes, thank you so much. Happy to be back after a week of holiday. I missed you guys. And well, I'm looking forward to be a little bit game playing today.
Excellent. And welcome back. Welcome back. Yeah. We missed you and great to have you back. And I'm Karen Sherwood. And again, welcome to our BG5 Live. So let's take a look at shaking hands with the devil, trait 28. Before we do that, let's take a look at it in context. So this is the last trait of October. And as we've taken a look at October, it's all about what we need to survive and facing our survival fears. So with the trait 28, this is the game player. It's the preponderance of the great, and the challenge is life itself. Then next week, there's only one more trait in the survival instinct as we move into November. So we'll finish up with the 44 in alertness, and then we move to purpose fulfilled through transformation. Still in October, however, we're still focused on this purpose fulfilled through connection. And again, after and in November, we will move to and towards transformation. So let's first take a look at the background frequency. We're going to be taking a look at the past and future direction. It has shifted from quality 3 into quality 2. So again, just things to notice in the environment, things to notice in the background. So with the 32, this is personal power, and this is momentum. This is the power that grows when victory is in sight. This is the ability when victory is in sight, not to lose perspective, or it can also be the power for growth limited by impatience. It can be a tendency to be emotionally carried away by the smell of victory. So it was funny, I was watching a segment on NFL, which is American football, and they have a segment that's called "Come On, Man," and silly things that people did. So the punter actually kicked and thought he made the field goal, so he started celebrating because he thought he made the field goal, and then realized that the ball didn't go through, and they ended up losing the game. So again, it was in a sense losing sight when he thought that victory was at hand, and then realizing that the victory actually got taken away. So again, it's staying vigilant, knowing you're not victorious until you've gotten to the other side. So just this vigilance in taking a look at, again, the power that grows when victory's in sight. And then we have in the 20, quality 2, we have contemplation, the dogmatist. This is the restrictive and initially limited understanding. This is a restricted awareness in the now. This is a limitation if personal, and exclusive is less negative through the aesthetic withdrawal. Or it can be the gift through expression of leading others down a narrow and restrictive path. This is the power to lead others down a narrow path as well, which with things that are going on in the world with mandates and everything else, it in some respects feels like we're being led down this narrow path. So interesting to contemplate this. It's very interesting with this particular connection. Again, the 3420, it does create definition. So you can see that all of the definition that's currently present right now. So there's a lot of energy. There's two connections. There's the 2750 connected to the energy resource. Again, we have the 5720, we have the 3420. So we have charisma, we have this spontaneity, we have this custodianship. We also have this finding of inner truth as well. So you can see just all of the definitions. So if you've been feeling sort of a ramped up energy, that's part of why we have this ramped up energy currently. So I'd love to hear from any of our panel if there's anything that you've noticed or anything that you recognize in taking a look at sort of the shift in the background frequency. And one of the things that's interesting, especially with that 3420, that's going to be, we're going to be experiencing that through January. So I think it's January 19th, something around there, that's going to be activated. Also, we're going to be having that mental pressure as well with the 6124 up through January as well. So we're going to have those two definitions through the end of this year and into January. So I think it's quite fascinating. Anything that Shelley or Anna or Linda that you would like to add?
Yes, I would like to add. Well, what I notice the shift. I feel more limited, even though we don't have limitations yet, but they are on their way. And I also feel like it's a restrictive awareness also of the now, because everything that I also see in this chart is working in a pulse. So I feel like nothing is happening. Nothing is happening. When is it going to happen? There should be also more positive things should be happening. When will there be light at the end of the tunnel? I feel more restricted. And that's also why I love to see momentum. I also feel, and that's a beautiful picture, by the way, of the person standing in front of the arrow. It's dark, but you can see just a little light. I feel like there will be light at the end of the tunnel, but it feels the road ahead towards a new reality feels restricted, feels like we have to also go our own individual way, moving, almost plowing through everything that is going on and not able to understand everything that's going on, because there are so many things going on at the same time that my view is limited. And I feel at one hand, there are positive things happening, but at the other side, I also feel the doom, kind of the restrictiveness, the restriction literally of freedom occurring. So I'm kind of balancing between feeling okay, and also in this second quality, following my natural gift, doing things that I love to do, but at the other hand, also feeling like, okay, is there something behind me lurking in the shadows to grab me? So I don't know if this makes any sense, but this is how I notice my environment at this moment.
Yes. I love it. Beautifully said, Linda. And as you pointed out, look how individual it is. We do have one tribal strength as well. But again, the restriction, but also again, standing in what it is to be an individual also. Wow. Anything, Anna or Shelley, you would like to add?
Yeah, just something just came to me when you were talking about the individual and some tribal, and we've got the strength of custodianship right now, which is all about, protecting and taking care of people, following our values and the rules and laws for caring for people. So in one hand, like as Linda's talking about, we're seeing that going on, where that tribal way of doing things that's been in place for so long is doubling down its effort. And it is, we are being led down some more dogma. And I believe it's being done for the purpose of protecting everyone. Yet I know here in Canada, they've just made a ruling this week that they're pondering whether or not to allow people who leave their job because they won't be vaccinated, whether or not they're going to be allowed to collect unemployment insurance. So that's a big restriction. And it's one that everybody's kind of debating and up in arms about, and that's not fair, and all of this stuff going on about that. So that really hit me. And then I love how you pointed out that we've got all this other individual empowerment traits going on at the same time. So we see what's happening is the tribal ways of trying to keep us protected are right directly at odds with everyone trying to become an individual and get their own needs met. And it's coming down to viewing people on an individual basis, because we're down to sort of a minority of people who don't want to be vaccinated for their own personal reasons. And how do we look at each of them as individuals now, instead of trying to paint them with the whole collective or tribal brush and say, well, no, you got to follow our dogma to keep everyone safe. So it's just such a fascinating time right now to see how this is all going to unfold and resolve itself. So yeah, just amazing to see how this is playing out in the world.
Exactly. Anything, Anna, for you to add?
Yeah, I'm considering, this not to lose perspective and intentionally limiting situations, because the individual is singular, the collective is group mind, or mass thinking, mass information, mass response to things. And so there's this polarity between the momentum right now for control, for this tribal, what's labeled as health concerns, but there's all these other layers going on in it. And it depends on, there's so many decisions to be made right now as an individual, financially, like you were just saying, Shelley, about financial stuff, health stuff, political stuff, all layers. And it really presents an internal reckoning to make decisions about your health, your finances, your stance, your principles, all of this stuff in the face of mass collective mind versus your individual energy. And it's easy to get swept into the bigger forces and lose perspective when you're an individual. Yeah. And on this restrictive and intentional limitation, I think of, again, sometimes we purposely choose a limitation in order to succeed or get to the light or to grow. That can be a diet. It can be a financial plan. I'm going to put myself on a strict budget so I can gain money for a house or whatever your goal is, or, restrict spending in a business in order to develop a product or whatever. It's about shifting the resources. And it's easy to see limitations as restrictive or intentional limitations as external control. But really, if you're living in this intentional restriction, you're not limited to the mass thinking. You're actually empowered by your choice about what, when in order to succeed at something or gain at something, you have to say no to something else.
Yeah. And
so there's this balance. Sometimes it's intentional to say no to that fancy coffee in order to save the money you want to save, or to say no to going to the movies or whatever it is in order to protect yourself somehow from what people are calling the sickness and things like that. So just keep in mind that intentional restriction actually helps us keep our perspective.
Right. Yes. Yeah, beautifully said, Anna. Yeah, so this is something, again, just to pay attention to. We're going to be in this for the next few weeks. So just watch it and be aware of it. And beautifully said, Anna. Again, the restrictions don't necessarily have to be a negative. You can use different types of restrictions in a very positive way as well. Yeah, beautifully said. So let's dive into our theme for today. So today we're taking a look at trait 28. We're taking a look at the game player, rolling of the dice. So the potential of intuition to know in the now whether it is a value to struggle or not. One of the things that's very interesting, if we take a look at, we have the 28, we have the 27 on the other side. Again, we have values that we took a look at last week, right? So we can see that, again, it's creating that definition of also, starting to take a look at, what we value and is it worth fighting for or not? It's the preponderance of the great. The challenge is life itself. This is also the fear of death or the fear of purpose or not have something worth living for as well. This is the transitory of power and influence, and it's the willingness to take risks to make you feel more alive. So again, it's the game player. It can also be the risk taker. So it's the confronting of your fears, and the confronting of your fears helps to develop a strong sense of confidence that you have what it takes to survive. Again, it's connected to the survival instinct. This is the ability to redirect the self-absorbed nature of people by prodding them to open up and share what they know with others. This is one of the very interesting elements of trait 28, is if we take a look at where it flows into the integration circuitry, which is it's the backbone of the individual, like we saw earlier. And this is what, in a sense, allows the individual to also be social and not be so self-absorbed. So that, again, it prods others to open up and share what they know with others. And if you do not rely on your decision-making strategy, you may unnecessarily fight other people's battles or fight battles that really aren't worth fighting for, and experience needless resistance and exhaustion. So it's really, again, on the other side, we have the 38 of the fighter. And so this is, fighting for a purpose. So are you doing it for a reason or a purpose, or are you just taking risks, in a sense, just to feel alive because you have, a fear of things not having purpose, things not having reason? So I'd love to hear from our panel. I think Linda, you're the only one that has this in your design, and you have it in an undefined function. Or no, you have the trait on the other side, but I don't know if any of us have the 28. Do any of us have the 28? I don't think so. Yeah, so I would love to hear your perspective of the 28, and if we have anyone here that's live in our Zoom room that would like to share your own personal experience of the 28, we would love to hear from you as well. So let's start with Shelley. Is there what do you see, or what have you experienced, or what have you witnessed about trait 28?
Well, I don't have this at all in my design, but I do have a couple of, almost all my children have this. So my son and his wife have one of the traits each. One of them has the 28 and the other has the 38. And then my daughter and her husband, my daughter has the 38 and her husband has the full strength. So I've seen this more play out in, and they like to hang out together. The four of them go, they go snowboarding, they go do extreme sports together. They all play video games. My son and his wife are video game designers. They work for a couple of big companies here, and their entire lives are in this game playing situation. And that's how they spend their daily life, actually. And yeah, so that's how I've seen it show up in my family. My grandson also has the full strength unconscious as well. And it's so funny because he has all of his love traits turned on in identity and direction. He's the sweetest kid. He loves people. He wants to have 10 children himself yet. And he loves to play games. He plays hockey. We play hockey in our living room, and he's got a younger brother that's half his age and size. And the minute that there's any kind of altercation, he's like, okay, we're dropping the gloves, let's go. So he just wants to fight his little brother. It's like play fighting, but it's so funny to see it. It's so out of character. This all of a sudden shows up. Nope, let's fight. So I see that strength more in my family members. Personally, with this open, it's more of a shadow for me, I guess. I've had a hard time standing up and fighting for myself, or for. It's easier for me to fight for other people, but not having any of this defined. I'm not particularly interested in playing games either. Sports were never a big thing. I don't mind playing tennis or individual sports, but team sports, no thanks. So it's really interesting that, that it, and I always thought I was kind of the odd man out because everybody around me, my whole family loves to play sports. My family of origin, we're all interested in sports, and I just wasn't. So it's so interesting to see how that, and they would like to pick fights with each other too, and I just don't want to be involved. So leave me out of this. So that's kind of how it shows up in the shadow, or that open trait of it, I guess.
Wow. I love the example, the fact that is their work as well, and that they design video games as and having this particular trait, I think is really fascinating.
Yeah,
that's amazing.
Yeah. And they play video games a lot in their house. They've got 3 big screens, one for each of them to play a video game on, and one in the middle for them to watch a show while they're playing their video games.
Wow.
And they both play a lot of sports themselves too. Like my son plays hockey and floor hockey and soccer, and his wife, they both golf. They both love, like I said, the extreme sports and hiking and rock climbing and snowboarding and all of that. So they do as much physically in the real world as they do virtually. So the balance.
Amazing. Yeah. And I see that Karen Devhock has wrote in. She has the 28 in quality 4 in her son, so it's going to be close to your birthday. So happy birthday! She said she's definitely a risk taker, an adventurer, and an ongoing entrepreneur, and loves sharing in public forums your view. Would you like to share a bit more? We'd love to hear from you as well. Well.
Hi, can you hear me?
Yes.
Hi.
Thanks for jumping in.
Yeah, this is fun.
I'll promote to, I don't know if you can show your video, so I'm going to promote you to panelists. So if you're interested in showing your video, you can. So we'd love to hear more about your experience in having this particular trait.
Okay, well, I've tried to, in the last couple of years, sort of design my work as a life coach in combination with this, I think, because I take people on hikes. And so it's really life coaching outside in the outdoors. And, some of the hikes are more advanced, but, I am having trouble getting clients. And I think it's because, for me, it's like, what's the big deal? We're hiking, yes, but I have the capacity to design the hike so it's not going to be too hard, and there's certain walks that would be easier, and heck, we're out in nature, and that's part of the goal, is to help people connect, have a deeper connection with nature. But and then I just always have this itch for excitement, and so I've really given myself permission over the last year to just do something like that at least once a month. It's sort of turning out that way, where I'll, go on a day trip to the mountains just because I need that excitement of that adventure. And then I just come back totally fulfilled. And like all juiced up, like that was good soul food, so to speak, or yeah, it just feels really good.
Yeah, it's one of the things we talked about. We have a course called the Profit Potential Coaching Certification, and we were talking about the different, in a sense, sort of energies and how you can release the stress, because there's pressure that goes up here, and so releasing that stress by being outdoors, by doing something exciting, by having those adventures. Shelley, you mentioned the extreme sports, and doing those sports, it can really decrease your stress level. And I love what you said, Karen, of really having it open up, and you get juiced up by being able to do that. It really is healthy in a sense, eliminating the pressure and stress that may happen from everyday life.
Yeah. And I think one more thing that just came to mind, when I love to travel, and I think I'm a little out of the ordinary when it comes to making the plans, because I'd much rather be spontaneous than have it all planned out. And I'll plan all of these, or I'll reserve these places with, I'll research and everything. But later, after the trip, I'm like, wow, that was pretty darn risk taking, and I think it works best when I travel solo, because it's hard to find companions, right, that will want to risk that, place I book online, because, there's no reviews, or, one, it's in a remote place, or things like that too, so travel is another interesting aspect.
Yes, exactly. Beautiful. Great examples. Thank you so much for sharing. It's great having you join us.
Yeah, you're welcome. That was fun.
Yes. And since both Linda and Anna do not have this trait, I also wanted, we'll take a look at the shadow side of things as well. So how you get affected when you are connected. So the shadow of trait 28, and also if you don't have 28, how does that show up for you? So when we take a look at the shadow, some of the questions you can ask is, do you have a tendency to needlessly struggle or fight without purpose or reason? Do you have a fear that life has no meaning or purpose? Or do you take unnecessary risks just to feel alive? The problem is that you know how to fight, especially if you have trait 38 on the other side of the fighter. You know how to fight, but the problem is that you don't know what is worth fighting for. You may have a tendency to fall victim to unnecessary pressure, to struggle and experience needless resistance and exhaustion. And you may also seek that adrenaline rush to make you feel alive. So the solution is that you're really designed, especially if you have the 38 on the other side, you're designed to work in partnership with others. So look to people who have trait 38 for clues about what they have discovered in making their life struggle worthwhile. Remember that the 28 is about, again, what is worthwhile. They want to share what the purpose and reason and what they've learned about life, just like Karen was saying. And choose your battles and only fight for what truly has value for you, what's worth fighting for, and use your fighting abilities to ultimately fight for something that you believe in, side by side with others. So again, it really is, it's very individual. So it's not fighting for someone, it's fighting side by side, in alliance with others, is ultimately, again, that partnership, that connection in working together. So Linda, I would love to hear your perspective in having trait 38 on the other side, but not having the 28. So having the fighter, but not having the game player.
Yeah, well, I had to giggle all the time because this is something I'm really familiar with, because I feel like until I was hospitalized, and that was, well, 6 years ago or something. So most part of my life, I just was fighting, fighting my way through life, constantly fighting to find purpose, in my work and in my life, finding meaning in my life. Yeah, I'm a fighter. And my husband, he has the 38 and the 28, so he has the full strength. So he compromises me in my life work. It's really interesting. And what I have learned, and that's really wonderful, that the solution is in like real partnership, is that I now know, because he knows exactly where he can go. Because I am really frightened sometimes. And when I'm alone, it's not like that. But for example, when we are on a holiday, and he wants to, because he's really curious, he wants to go out and to search for old cars or something. And there's a road, and I feel like, oh, we cannot enter, or there's a sign, do not enter. He just enters. And I'm, oh, so I'm the opposite of Karen. I'm not going to travel all by myself. I'm going to plan everything with my beautiful trait of planning. And I shared with my husband how it works. And now he says, you know, you can trust me. Just follow me and it will be all right. Okay, okay. So I am trusting more and more in following him, his intuitiveness about what is safe and what's not. And what's also really interesting, because I have the 5720, I am self-absorbed. So he is so self-confident, and I'm just working and doing my thing. He say, don't mind, just do this, do that. And I think, oh yeah, maybe I can share this because I'm just doing my thing. So, and also I don't like creating YouTube videos. I'm just really stepping out of my comfort zone. And he's just, when he has the ability, or he has to do it, he's just doing it like he has done that 10 years long. And I feel like, okay, I'm going to sit down, I'm going to do it, all kind of fears. And he's literally, pulling out my self-confidence and just say, well, just do it. So it's interesting.
I love it. And really a beautiful example of really what that shadow is all about. And also a beautiful example of working in collaboration with someone else to really bring that out. And again, it's connected to the survival instinct. So, that if you have it defined, you are, in tune with what is healthy and what is not. And that trusting your husband, like you said, in order to bring you to those places that are safe as well.
Yeah. So Lisa says, fighting with yourself. Exactly. I am always having a battle with myself. Yeah. Yeah.
Exactly. And how about for you, Anna? What do you see in this, and what's your experience or observations with trait 28, either having it undefined or anything that you've noticed it around you?
Yeah, a couple of things. One is I don't tend to fight directly. I'm not a athlete or a, that kind of thing. But it's open for me, the whole strength and the function. So I see a lot of perspective, a lot of different ways. I like to watch basketball and football, and I used to hate football. It would physically hurt me to watch it, And over the years, I realized, this is where I can put some of the 28. I like watching them battle. I don't want to do it myself, but I really got the whole idea of this need to fight for the goal or the championship or the, recognition or whatever all was involved. And I love watching them fight for the ball and all this stuff, because I wouldn't do it that way at all. So that's, it's one way that I can relate to this trait, in a less shadowy zone.
Yes.
One of the things I've noticed with my daughter has the 38 conscious and unconscious. And I've watched her fight. Sometimes when she was a tiny kid, it's like, oh my God, why fight about this? But I realized over time, and then especially with BG5, I realized that there's an internal necessity for that fight, and she's got the open 28. So, and that's a depth trait, you know. I mean, it's I think, isn't it, where you don't want other people's influence. You wanna go your own way. It's part of the individual circuitry. You want to do it your way. And I remember a little vignette that would happen over and over and over with her when she was a tiny, tiny little girl. And then along about 7 or 8, she finally explained it. She had the vocabulary to explain it to me. You know, when she was 3 years old, let's say, we were at the park, we would say, okay, it's time to go home. And we would be walking together back to the car or whatever. And she would all of a sudden stop and just get stubborn as heck. And I would be walking forward. And at first I would like try to cajole her to keep walking. And then all of a sudden she'd start running and running and running to catch up with me. Well, I figured out it was some kind of game, but then when she was about 7 or 8, she explained it to me. She said, Mom, I have this little thing, and it's the 38, but also the open 28. It's like when I stop, what I'm doing is I want to see if I can run fast enough to get back to you before you get to that tree or whatever the goal line was. And I never understood it until she explained it. And then even though that vignette was, I understood that, the same thing happened on bigger and bigger scales later as she matured. She would fight for something but not quite know what the goal was, and then have to plant a goal or something worth fighting for. And there's this kind of oscillating experience of gaining intuition about what she's actually trying to do. And that gave me a whole lot of understanding about this whole dynamic.
Exactly. Well, thank you for sharing that, Anna. I love that. and it looks like Angela Dumas would like to share as well. Would love to hear from you.
Hello, everyone. Thank you. This is Angela Dumas.
Angela. Oh, sorry.
You never know. How could you possibly know? Weird spelling, and I mean, for the way it sounds. Anyway, it's really lovely to hear everyone today, and thank you for sharing. I had the problem when I was much younger. I'm like now in my early 60s, but a lot has changed since when I was younger. I also had the genius to freak to genius thing, so I never had the words, but I did have a lot of like fight in me, but I didn't know what it was for. It was more reactive. Over years of inner work and undoing, and my path at this point, it's all about letting go of resisting freedom, in fact. And that has shifted the entire pressure to struggle more and more, that it's now becoming evident and demonstrated in my external world as something that I can see out there and not respond to. But for years, I was very risk-takey. I did weird things and risky things that not everyone would probably like think was good, or I was berated for things, and now I would never do those things, but I did them when I was younger.
Yes.
Like one of the things I did, I was asked to sing sight unseen. We didn't have Zoom back then, I was living in Philadelphia at the time, down in Florida in the Keys. And I didn't tell anybody. I just left. And my mom's like, where have you been? But I would do things like that. And a young girl, like 19 years old, going off on an adventure with some music people. It did not turn out well, but it was a very good lesson learned.
Yeah.
So now I really help people fight the correct fight for themselves. And I don't even call it a fight anymore, but it's more being able to stand like a mama bear for my client, have you, in an upright way, and in the way of the light, let's put it that way.
Yeah.
So it's really shifted so many things. And the body that I inhabit has been through extreme severe illness. And no one would ever know if they saw me. But that has been another fight internally that I've had to let go of fighting and allowing karma to take its place. Now I've got the 28, both conscious and unconscious. I do not know much about human design except what I've studied on my own over the course of a couple of years. But as a 5-1 mental projector, it just makes sense to me in a lot of ways. So I'm really happy to find this. I had to dig and finally, yippee, here you are. So, but I hope that, I don't know if that helps anyone, but everyone's story or sharing has impacted me in a way too. I don't usually raise my hand for anything, actually. So I thought, I'll do it this time. So thank you, everyone.
Wow. Brilliant contribution. And so you have the 28, right?
Yeah, so yeah, both conscious,
right.
But no 30.
Yeah, but no 30. So again, the shadow on the other side, right? You experience the shadow of fighting when it's really not there to fight.
Absolutely. Like it used to be causes and for women's right, like all this stuff. That's all gone away now.
Yeah.
That's all shifted because of the work that my inner work that I do. It's just like,
yes,
I don't have to, and it has saved me exhaustion.
Yes. And I would venture to guess that some of the health problems may have been because you were trying to fight when you really didn't need to fight.
Oh, I'm absolutely on about 1,000 fronts that I'm not even aware of, or 1,000,000 that I'm not aware of, because karmically, you don't have any idea of more like 95% of why we do things. So, but even looking at past lives and stuff like that may not be part of this, but I can see how I've let the fight and done this and tried that. And it's just, that just burns a flame in the wrong direction. Right. It just burns it out. So I'm really grateful for you and everyone on the panel and everyone that's here. Thank you so much for letting me.
Yes. I love it. I love it. Thank you so much for sharing and contributing. It's so great to hear from all of you as well. And as you were saying, Angela, is all of these stories really contribute to really understanding what this trait is all about, what the fight is all about on the other side, or what finding purpose and reason is about as well. Yeah, as Lisa says, amazing insights. Thank you so very much.
I just thought of one thing. Can you?
Yeah, please.
I just realized I also have that thing of determination and perseverance or whatever. It's like I can't help myself, right? That is part of it though, too. I think that somehow overlaps. The determination can be a fight instead of just allowing the natural determination of the truer self to just kind of take you there instead of, I will do this, because that becomes the internal fight then.
Yes, exactly. And oftentimes, it can be internal fights and it can also be external fights.
Yes.
The internal fights, if you hold it in and you fight with that inner fight too much, that can cause health problems. Yeah. And if you have the fight externalized, that can cause problems in the relationships.
Yes, it can.
Sounds like by experience.
Yes, I have a gladiator husband who loves fighting. But he doesn't think so.
Yes.
Right.
I
That
love
thing.
it.
Thank you, Jen. It's very fun. So much fun.
Yes.
Thank you.
Oh,
Yeah.
thank you. Thank you so much. It's really, really a pleasure to have you join us. It's beautiful. And with determination, I'm assuming that you have, let me just bring this up here. I'm assuming that you have the 2946. Is that right?
Let me just see. Oh gosh, I don't know my things that well. Let's see.
Okay.
If I a 29 I have. I
Yeah.
have a 29.
And the 46.
It's open, and the 29 is the
Okay.
red, which is the
Yeah.
divine. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, great.
He's an advisor, so.
Yeah. Yeah. The
I'm an
20
advisor.
Oh, right. An advisor. Okay, great. Yeah, makes sense.
Is that what that means? Because I am an advisor. That's what I've always done. I don't like to call it advisor, but I call it guide. But
Yeah.
is that the same
Yeah.
thing?
Mhm,
Okay.
exactly.
I'm learning so much. I'm learning so much. Thank you.
Yeah, and with the advisor, you don't have the energy resource. This is the energy resource. You don't have that defined, and that's part of what makes you an advisor.
Oh, really?
Mhm.
Okay. All
Yeah,
right.
anyone who has this red square defined is a builder.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. That would be the the
Right.
generators.
Yep.
Got it. The builder. Yep. Yeah. I'm totally. The only thing I have defined is the ajna and the crown. That's it.
Ah, okay. Okay. Yeah. Wow.
With
Yeah.
no
So
authority.
yeah. So mental advisor.
Yeah. Mental. Yeah. Mental. Yep. Mental
Yeah.
advisor.
Yeah.
I
Wow.
forgot that the BG5 changes from mental projector. They turn it to advisor, and the other things. I just learned that like about a week ago.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah,
All right.
and the reason that we do that with BG5 is that we've changed the language just to make it a little bit more user friendly when it comes to the business world,
Yeah.
and that it's a little bit easier to understand. So that's why we've changed a bit of the language.
Yeah. I like it a lot. I like all of it. So thank you again.
Yes, thank you so much for being a part of our BG5 Live. It's really fun to have both you, Angela, and Karen join us. It's again very amazing to have you join us. And let's quickly also take a look at today's quality as well. So today's quality in trait 28, the game player is shaking hands with the devil. This can be a distasteful alliance. So when the game turns to a struggle, the intuitive acceptance of any alliance in order to win. A means, however unsavory, is justified by the end. Also, the challenge is the risk in sacrificing principles when there's no guarantee for victory. The anxiety engendered by sacrificing higher principles when there's no guarantee of success. So there can be, in a sense, a way that you can, in a sense, sort of shake hands with the devil, so to speak. It's interesting. We have Halloween this week as well, so I thought it was this sort of appropriate. But it is kind of taking a look at partnering up with people that normally you wouldn't necessarily partner up with, or working with people that you wouldn't necessarily work with, or being able to do that in a way that you're still protected, kind of in the evaluation in order to succeed, in order to win the game. Or again, it could be the risk also in shaking hands with the devil in sacrificing principles when there's no guarantee of victory. So I find this quite fascinating as well. I don't know if any of you have any experience with this quality and shaking hands with the devil. Would be curious to know that as well.
I'll share something. Oh, sorry.
Yeah, go ahead, Shelley, and then we'll
Karen,
go to Anna.
there's just something going on in our news today. There's our two biggest telecom companies. One of them, both of them are family owned, and one of them is taking over the other one, and that was announced quite a while ago. But all of a sudden, there's a huge family rift going on in the company that's taking over the other one. And it's this shaking hands with the devil. This one guy is trying to replace the whole executive board, and his mother and sister are fighting him, wanting to replace them with their people. And they're vying to get him out of there now. It's all of this game playing going on, and this huge fight in the media at a time where it's really risky for them, because they're about to make a $26 million purchase of this other family company. I thought it was so interesting that both the companies involved are family owned, so very tribal, very much institutions that have grown up over time. And now, you know, all of a sudden there's this great big fight amongst all the family members trying to get a hold of how to move forward. And this is the son of the guy that founded the company, and the whole family's embarrassed that he's doing this right now while they're about to do this big takeover. So I just found it really funny when I saw what the quality was today and the trait. It just is so fitting that that's what's happening here right now, playing out in the media. So
yeah,
and watching sort of that tribal institution start to shake, start to fall apart. Individuals fighting each other for control of the company and how they want to do it. So apparently, if anybody watches the show Succession on HBO, it's that playing out in the real world.
Right.
I haven't watched it yet, but anyway.
Yeah. And Sarah's asking, is there any ritual to keep you protected? I have to do business shaking hands with the devil in a way. For me, in an hour, a higher symbol, I guess, magic, transformational, possibly my best preparation. I think it is, I think one of those things is really being, as we can see, the challenge is sacrificing principles when there's no guarantee of victory. So I think what really keeps you protected is continuing to stand by your principles, even if you need to accept any alliance in order to win. So again, the means, however unsavory, is justified by the end. And again, as long as you stand by your principles, as long as you follow your decision-making strategy, you're following your decision-making strategy is the biggest ritual that you can do to keep you protected at all times. Because when you are not following your decision-making strategy, that's where you make decisions from the mind. That's where you're not protected. That's where you can end up sacrificing yourself or also sacrificing your principles as well. It's a great question, Sarah. Thank you. Hopefully that helps. All right. So, oh yes, Anna. Yes, please.
Just in terms of the quality too, I have an example for each, the elevation and challenge. The accepting of an alliance, which might be natural, but not necessarily, might be gritty a little bit. I think of someone like Tom Brady and Belichick, his coach, a football player and his coach of a very famous football franchise. And they both wanted to win. And there's lots of speculation about their relationship, whether it was good or bad. And I don't care about that so much. But they both really, their goal was the same, even though there was some edgy ways that they had to operate. They both challenged each other. It was literally the game of football and the game of winning. And I just thought, over the years I've watched it, how it all played out. And they succeeded in winning by this really strong alliance, even though it wasn't necessarily the devil, but it had its grisly moments, let's say, or they were free to disagree, and sometimes, dramatically, but it worked. They knew that alliance was going to get them somewhere. And in the challenge, sometimes, well, I was thinking about couples that fight, in this whole realm of needing a partner in order to sort of really play the game. Sometimes when you're in a partnership, especially, a marriage or a serious relationship, there's this fighting that goes on, and there's deeper principles at work, but you don't always understand what's at work. And so you keep on this general fight, and at a certain point, you either succumb to the fighting, and that sort of, it makes both of you weaker, or you start to understand, oh, what is it we're fighting about or fighting for? And that lifts it higher. But you can get really bogged down in the disagreement or the frustration or whatever it is that's creating all the anxiety. And a lot of times you don't even know you're sacrificing something, and you're blaming the other person, or the other person's blaming you, or, you know, all that complex stuff, until you sort of realize, oh, I have been not quite aligned with my decision-making strategy. I haven't quite been aware of this conflict, you know. So I just thought, you know, we need a certain level of fighting with a partner, but we also need to keep track, keep aware of the principles at stake. And once you know the principles, then you can mediate with each other. It's no longer, it still can be a game. You can still play this game of romance or business or whatever is at stake, but you're not endangering your principles.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. You know, and as Linda said, you know, again, with the sacrificing the principles, Linda said to Sarah, you know, I'd also like to add that's important to be aware of what you're doing and stay grounded and what the feeling in your body is telling you as well. So, you know, again, whether it's the fight, whether it's being aligned, whether it's doing whatever, again, what's going to keep you safe, if you will, is making sure that you're doing what is correct for you. All right, last piece here, our celebrity life work theme. We have Seth Macfarlane. He's an actor, a writer, a producer, an animator. So his life work theme is the unexpected. So you unexpectedly have to care or take responsibility for something or someone, and you become an influential example when you find meaning in the struggle. And if we take a look at what he has created, he created the series Family Guy, American Dad, the Ted 1 and 2. He was actually the teddy bear, which is a bit unexpected as well. So I thought this was a beautiful example of this particular trait. Actually, I think he does have, I think I forgot to change it to quality too. His exact birth time is unknown, so I believe that this is close. It may not be exact. All right, so let's wrap everything up. Again, if you are new to BG5, you can get your personalized chart, follow along, see if you have a particular trait. You can also visit our website and go to BG5 Live. We are soon going to also have an email. So if you want to follow along on a daily basis and take a look at what's happening on a daily basis, we're soon going to have an email where you can sign up and get the daily the daily theme, the theme for the day. So we'll have that shortly. And again, we have classes starting in January, so we would love to have you join us. So let's wrap everything up. And what I would love to hear from each of our panel, as well as our guests as well, if you're open to sharing, is what should people pay attention to this week? Again, with trait 28 being defined, what are some things to pay attention to, be aware of in this upcoming week? And Angela, if you would like to start, I would love to, if you're still there, if you would like to share. Yes, absolutely. I think you just need to unmute. There you go.
What should they, I'm going to be totally guessing because I was going to go after the first person since you invited me. Thank you. What should people be careful of this week? I think people need to sit back into themselves a little bit and just watch.
Mm-hmm.
That'd be the first thing I'd say. And I am, again, untrained, but kind of pay attention to, you know, what is really correct for them in their strategy, and their authority, I would say. Like, check that first and see if you're just responding or wanting to react or wanting to fight or not fight or whatever. That's it. I'm not really, you know, That's the best I can do for now.
Oh, I love it. I love it. Perfect. Thank you so much again for joining us. And it was great to hear your voice. Great to have you join us. And thanks for just taking it and running with it. So absolutely perfect. Thank you so very much. Beautiful. How about for you, Shelley?
I was just thinking about adding on to what Angela is saying is really about checking in with your decision-making strategy to ensure that any risks that you're thinking of taking are really for you. Since this 28 is all about playing the game and maybe stepping out a little bit out of your comfort zone and taking a few more risks, with this trait highlighted right now, you may feel the pull to do that. And again, like Angela was saying, just check back in with your decision-making strategy to ensure that that's the correct thing for you to be doing for yourself.
Yes, beautifully said, Shelley. Thank you so much. And Anna?
I would just check in whether the fight is enjoyable. That might sound funny, but when you're fighting with a partner or fighting, somehow struggling about something, do you have a sense of worth about it, about yourself? Is this a good place to put my energy? Is it worthwhile to spend all this time? Or am I just fighting all day long about everything? Some things are worth keeping the momentum for, worth getting to some new level about, or is it just sort of the hamster wheel? I've done this, am I on this same old thing? So just kind of track that, be aware, it's in an awareness function. Be aware, is there something profitable, something you're gaining out of this, not just fuel, but is this raising me a little bit higher today, or raising the partnership somehow a little bit higher, or is it just kind of keeping me way down?
Yeah, beautifully said, Anna. Thank you so much. And it looks like Karen has dropped off. I don't see her currently. So let's wrap up with Linda. And again, Karen, thank you for joining us and sharing with us as well. So Linda.
Oh, I see myself. Do you hear me still?
Yes.
Because, okay, well, things are different here. Yes, what I love the sharing of everyone, and what I also want to highlight a different perspective is that I feel like in the times we are in, we are really getting triggered to find our individual way. And I feel like we can take advantage of this influence, maybe by having a little bit more courage to find your purpose. And maybe you feel like, okay, maybe I'm going to start my own business, or I need to change jobs because I don't feel comfortable and I don't know where my life is going. But maybe it's the perfect timing. And always your decision-making strategy is key, of course. But I feel like it also may be helpful to find your place and your purpose in this momentum. So
yes,
that's what I would like to share.
Beautifully said, Linda. And yes, this is about finding purpose and sometimes it takes a risk in order to really find your purpose, and letting go of things that may no longer serve you. And sometimes it's a risk to simply let go.
Exactly.
Beautiful. Yes. All right, everyone. It has been our absolute pleasure. Thank you. And look forward to seeing you all next week. All right, everyone. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye, everyone.
Bye.
Thanks for joining.
Bye. Bye. Thank you.